Alright, got my channeling crystals in. Today we're going to talk about the American Standard, Declaration of Independence, significance of America's Independence Day and birthday being on July 4th. Our founding fathers were Freemasons. America, built off of Freemasonry. They talk about this in National Treasure. Walt Disney was a Freemason, okay? He intentionally built Disneyland on the 33rd parallel. There's a section called Club 33. We'll get back to that. Giving a little nod to the club, a little nod to the American Standard. What do we mean by the American Standard? Are we talking about the American way? Are we talking about a chicken in every pot, 2.5 kids in a 2-car garage? Are we talking about 40 acres and a mule? When we talk about the American Standard, what do you mean? Yosemite? No. We are talking about the American Standard of measurement. We're talking about measuring up. We're talking about being the one who sets the scales. All right? I'm going to go ahead and start you off with something. You ever wonder why pounds are called pounds? Because they're pounds of gold. Pounds of money. Okay, well that one's easy. You ever know why it is labeled LBS? What is that LB? That stands for Libra balance. Okay? LB is Libra balance. Pounds is Latin for Libra pondus, scale weight. Scale weight. More than that, let's take a little look astrologically. Okay, we all know the 12 signs. I'm going to assume you do. You know, Aries through Pisces. Libra, along with Taurus, is ruled by Venus. That's right. It is ruled by the light bearer, the light bringer, Lucifer and Phosphorus, the light bringer. And, you know, light in its fall, the dimming, Vesperos, the vespers of light. This is known. Okay, when you're dealing with secret societies, you are dealing with Venus worship. Why is Venus so important? Now, I wish I had some, like a PowerPoint presentation that I can give you. I'll work on those in the future. But if you actually track Venus's orbit, every 8 years its orbit makes a pentagram pattern. That pentagram pattern is what's used for Pythagoras' measurements. It contains the golden mean. It contains measurement. Venus itself contains harmony and measurement. That's important. The very structure of measurement comes from the ancients tracking Venus's trail across the sky. And they did it in a very simple way, right? They used clay, they used some rope, they used some water. And they tracked Venus through the sky over time to create distance and measurements. It's here that you get the monolithic foot. And monolithic measurements are directly related to, is it the Earth? Is it the circumference of the Earth? Yeah, the polar circumference of the Earth. They're able to track this. You find this in South America. You find this in Africa, Samaria, Egypt. Their unit of measurement is based on the orbit, the circumference of not only Earth, but other planetary bodies' relationship to it. I'm not going to take you too far out, but do you know why adulthood is considered adulthood at 30? Why Jesus isn't really considered a man age or at his full maturity until he's 30? What is it about that 30th year? Well, the 30th year comes from the orbit of Saturn, right? A Saturn return lasts 29.5 years, depending on which sign it's in, so we round up and we call it 30. So our unit of measurement and our unit of measurement of time and maturity is based off of the planetary rotation of Saturn. our concept of measurement, and by our, I mean the human species, is based off of Venusian principle. Solar, lunar, Venusian principle. We watch the stars, we watch the sun, we watch the moon. And if you watch Venus and its perfect orbit, its perfect tracing across the sky, you get the foundation for mathematics. That's a little history on Venus. And what's important about that is that Thomas Jefferson's measurement system, the one they compare to the French system, is actually an Egyptian Sumerian system where they had the exact same measurements using what is called the 3 cush rod and the double cush rod. All right, the 1/5 of a 3 cush rod is 10 inches, right? So basically 5 feet equals a rod. 5 is the number of man. 5 is the pentagram. 5 is the Venusian principle. Okay, so 1 foot, 1/5 of a rod equals a foot. This is where Jefferson gets his, his deca system, his basis of mathematics on 10. He was in charge of creating how we measure distance and how we, measure currency, our money, our weights, because you sell things by the pound. Currency is based off of water, the current. Sails, okay, they're called sails because your ships have sails. Currency is based off of the moon and the water. Here's how you can tell. Rivers have banks. Banks have trees. Okay? Trees have branches, just like the bank. Bank, tree, branch, by the river, currency. Moony is money. Money, moony, because it is based off of the lunar cycle. Who rules the moon? The moon rules Cancer. It's important. We have the moon, we have Venus. Why? Because the moon controls currency, in other words, the current of your sales. And Venus sets the standard of measurement. How much you get per pound, how did the distance that you go, how you measure time. Time is based off of the rotation of Earth, circles. So you have a lot of shapes moving. You have a lot of spheres. It's a clock with many hands. That's how that works. Oh, lunacy, also based off of the moon, right? To be multi-faced like the moon, to change your faces, but also to be heavily affected by the moon and act like a lunatic, somebody who is under the influence of a full moon. It's been found, it's been scientifically studied that not only does crime go up on a full moon, but also sales go up. Right, so there's that calculation there of knowing that full moon brings in sales. And that time and distance and value can be measured by the calculations of Venus. This is how you build like Atlantis. This is how you build like Egypt. This is how your monolithic structures last forever, because you build them in natural accord with the laws of Earth, the laws of the universe, but broken down and distilled into the laws of Earth. We're talking the element Earth. Earth is Taurus, okay? When we're talking the fecund Earth, fecund, I like that word, the fecund Earth, we're talking about Taurus. We're talking about Aphrodite. We're talking about love and luxury, right? So here you have Venus, Venus as in Aphrodite, Venus as in the soil, the fertile soil, and you have the moon, the mother, also the sun, but we're not going to get into that. Yeah, actually we are going to get into that. The moon represents Mary and Jesus. There you go. It's the mother-son, the Mabon Atmadron relationship, the great mother and her begotten son. That's how that works. Okay, the Virgin Mother and her son, that is a lunar principle. It's also a Virgo principle. lunar, and Virgo principle. All right, so when we talk about America being a Christian nation, we're talking about America being set on a standard that combines Ishtar, that's Easter, Venus, and the moon through the, not just the time cycles, but also bringing in the energy of the Great Mother and her son. So yeah, Jesus Christ does play a big role in the American way, even if it's not Christianity, because Christianity is predated by Mithraism and stuff that we would call pre-Christianity. That's another talk. But the secret societies, right? The Freemasons, these builders, they understand the constructs and concepts behind Christianity, right? How you build your mythology, what it really means, like the Bible code, right? So they're aware of these things. There's power in symbols, and there's power in structures. So when you build your country off of the structures and the symbols of the great megaliths that come before it, what you are doing is you are empowering your country with these ancient archetypes. America is modeled off of Atlantis. Okay? Whenever Alexander the Great was on his run, he wanted to build Alexandria like a body. Alexandria has a chakra system. So does America. America's monoliths. There are chakra points within America. There's everything within America. If you use magical mathematics, I just gave you the number 5 and how a foot is 1/5 of a rod. Well, guess what? 5 times 10, 50. There is a reason why we specifically have 50 states, and why we are, why we don't want to bring in Puerto Rico. It's not just, we have to clean up the mess of Puerto Rico. It's the symmetry of the 50 stars, because a star is 5-pointed. 10 is the number of magnification of beginning and end. It is the full flush before it moves backwards, right? So you have the big star, so you have 50 stars, but it's really 1 star times 10. It's super powered. You're superpowering Venus. You're superpowering Venus. Allow me to repeat that. Your measurement system is based off of Venus and the moon. Follow me here. Your metric system is based off of Venus and the moon. Your currency system is based off of Venus and the moon, the actual mathematical calculations of these two planetary bodies. When you know how to use your energetic intent and to create a servitor, all right, this is an energy consciousness. Okay, listen, they didn't have computers back then. Back then, you just created a spirit to run your country. It's like the ghost in the machine, right? It was like Google before Google. You create the ideals and principles of a country, you build it off of its mathematical system, then you call down the spirit, and the spirit brings in providence, and it makes it happen according to your vision, which is according to the constructs of that planetary ruler's bodies. There is literally an entire science to this. We're talking about Kameas, we're talking about, whenever you look at magic books and they have stuff like Sabrina and you see all these funny looking grid things that look like a cross between math and hieroglyphics, that is planetary mathematics. Mathematics itself is an act of magic. That's important to know. Math and magic are the same thing. Math is ma'at. Okay? Ma'at, math, the moon, it's all literally written right there. This is the information that is passed along in the light of Egypt. And the light of Egypt is the foundation for most secret societies. They're continually expanding what their awareness of consciousness is. All right, but that's the foundation, is the ancients of Egypt. Not just of reincarnation, but how energy works, how we are connected to the stars in the cosmos, how to utilize mythology, how to build your structure that lasts forever. It's a builder's guide. Okay, it comes from the Taurian principle. The age of Taurus, right? The age of Taurus, which is ended by Moses, and the age of Aries, because it goes backwards. Then you get Jesus, which is the age of Pisces, because it goes backwards. But the age of Taurus is the age of the great builder, of fertility, and, you know, gold, resources, things that come from the earth, la tierra. Again, a Venusian principle. Venus controls the earth and constructs, but also the Libra scales of balance and standards. That is the American standard, and that is the national treasure. Now I can explain to you why Venus and the moon and our birthday and our Declaration of Independence is actually the real national treasure, and why the Declaration of Independence is a sacred holy document. It's because how it is used astrologically, mathematically, and magically. So beforehand, we're like, okay, our founding fathers were using ancient science to build a country. Cool, they're hiding that wisdom of the ancients who came before us because they understand that previous societies were actually more advanced than they were in their current state. Why? Because time is not linear, okay? We don't just get smarter and smarter and smarter as time goes on. I think, you know, with the invention of reality TV and the internet, we can all agree on that, okay? What happens? You get black plagues, you get countries taken over. Shit happens, okay? Shit happens, you forget your save point, and you have to start all over. You know how many times society as a whole, intelligence has been started over? Okay, we talk about the Dark Ages in Europe. Not everybody was in the Dark Ages, but Europe forgot how to bathe. People didn't know how to read. There was just a mishmash of language. The English language was absolute shite. It was shit. It sounded like people had marbles in their mouth. It sounded like mumble rappers, but without the concept of rhyme or rhythm. It was god awful. It was god awful. Until one Francis Bacon comes around. Now, in secret societies and in occult knowledge, I'm going to use the word is. We're not going to guess, right? Because when you drink the Kool-Aid on this, you go, okay, this makes better sense than the narrative they're giving the people. Francis Bacon is one of the greatest geniuses and magicians the world has ever known. This guy's hands on everything. He's an inventor, he's a philosopher, he's a writer, he's a secret agent. This dude slices and dices, right? Like him, Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin, polymaths, right? Every once in a while you get blessed with the real Lex Luthor. Okay, because let's not forget, like Lex Luthor is Superman. He is the Superman. Until Superman comes down and then he's just a human, right? But the best of the best that you get human-wise is Francis Bacon, and Francis Bacon is William Shakespeare. Creates the whole Shakespeare company, is pumping out these mythologies and these sonnets, getting these writers together, writing according to a rule, much like the Council of Nicaea and how the Bible was written. Why? To further the English language. The English language is deeply encoded. Languages are written mathematically. Your language is not civilized and complete until you can rhyme in it and write in poetry. If you do not have the ability to have a rhyme scheme or to write in some sort of formulaic prose, then your language is incomplete. You can prove this, and this has been proven if you look back at early Islam and why Arabic prayers are so important, and the Arabic language, and then Spanish and French, why these languages are so beautiful. They're harmonically assonant because they are mathematically based. Let me run that off you one more again. They are harmonically assonant. That means they harmonize and they sound alike because they are based off of mathematical principles. This has been done since the beginning of time. Your language is built off of math. Look at Hebrew. Hebrew is an entirely mathematical language. So is Coptic. So is all of it. Math is language. Math is a language. Language is derived from math. It is the sounds that are put together in a mathematical order that makes sense. They harmonize along the lines of the creation. This is why punnery, the ability to make a pun, was the highest form of wit up until Dave Chappelle, right? Up until stand-up comedy says that's dad humor. Okay? The reason why is because it is the ability to communicate multiple meanings on multiple levels using the same structures and the same sound. You're a genius. Monster of the double entendre. Coke is still my sponsor. Yeah. Soda. Hova. Still getting it in with cola. Diet. No, sir. I ain't lost no weight. You understand? This is why rap is such a big deal. Rhyme and reason and double entendre is the height of wit. So the English language had to be written mathematically perfect and in a way that everybody else was speaking it. Hence you get Shakespeare banging out sonnets and redefining the English language until it doesn't sound like everybody's got marbles and feet in their mouth. I'm telling you, that shit was cockneyed. It was gross. It was so gross. It was so gross they didn't want to speak in English. Why do you think all of the smart people learn Latin and Greek? They learn Latin, they learn Greek. If they learn the King's English, they're learning French. They're learning something that sounds good. Now English sounds good, and it's mathematically perfect. And it's encoded. So it's the perfect language to build in, to build on multiple levels, and to write your magical spells in, to set a new standard. Setting the standard. So, as I said, the American foot, which was originally 10 inches, then changed to 12. Oh, if you want to know why it's changed to 12, it's because also the measurement of time and the 12 gods. It's just really hard to get west off of that 12 principle. 12 hours a day, 12 hours a night, 12 apostles, 12 signs, right? But the 10 is also a very powerful and important number. This is why everything was initially done in powers of 10, because you can also, move things along in powers of 10. The mile is the mill. Once again, based off of Venus. Well, the same ancient Sumerians, Egyptians, Akkadians, the breadbasket. These same people were also using magic, real magic, Babylonian magic, and they would use the Bohemian stars as the basis for their spells. Now, when I talk about the Bohemian stars, there are 15 constellation stars which are specifically used for magic. In other words, you're going to want to do your spell when a planet or the sun or a day is in alignment with this particular constellation. For example, Arcturus, what's a good one? No, yeah, Sirius. Let's just hit right at it. Okay? Sirius is used for spells. Regulus is used for spells. Arcturus is used for spells. They would align their spells on the days of these planetary energies, these grand star energies, because they did have an effect. America is built in alignment with Egypt. So even though our measurement system is pre-Egyptian, once again utilizing Venus and the moon, which you see in Egyptian mathematics as well as Aztec mathematics, it also uses all of the same old magic. It uses the same old stories. They're building it to be ancient, because ancient things last forever, and that is the goal of America, to last forever, to be this Atlantis, to fill that void and become that energy pool, and to birth a nation. We talk about birthing a nation, we're talking about the Great Mother, we're talking about Cancer. This was important to the Egyptians. The Egyptians worshipped the Nile. They worshipped fertility. It didn't always look like a giant sand pit, right? It used to have oases. So bodies of water in the Nile was life. It was life and death. They found that every 4 years, when the star Sirius would come back on its return cycle, right? So it would increase and decrease in its brightness every 4 years at the same time. It would coincide with the flooding of the Nile and thus bringing vegetation. So this is how you get the star Sirius being associated with the goddess Isis. Isis has many names. Isis has over 72 names, 1,000 names. Okay, Isis gets represented as many different gods in many different places. So we're just gonna say Isis. All right, but this is the Great Mother. This is, Artemis of Ephesia. The Ephesian Artemis. This is, it is Ishtar Astarte, but that's more the Venusian form. It's the Great Mother. Okay, it is life bringing forward. It is also at 13.5 degrees Cancer. I repeat, Sirius, the star, the constellation, is located at 13.5 degrees Cancer. Now, if you were to break that down to a birthday, right? Because 0 degrees Aries is the, is it the vernal equinox? The spring, right? The first day of spring is the first day of Aries. That's how that goes. That's 0 degrees Aries, right? It's like March 21st. All right. 13.5 degrees Cancer, that's July 4th. That's July 4th. Sirius is also known as the wishing star. So, you know the song. When you wish upon a star. Well, that star from Pinocchio is Sirius, who brings what? The Great Fairy, the Great Blue Lady, the Great Mother, who brings life to things, who brings life to a doll. A corporation is a doll. Your dollar is a doll. Corpus, it is a manufactured body. Okay? Your dollar is a doll. It is a manufactured body, reflective of the larger body. America is a corporation. It itself is a body that is then brought to life by the Great Mother, who is Sirius. Right? And based in the light bringer, which is Venus. And so these great energies are what our government is built on. Now, we look at the birth chart of America. I've given you guys the basic rundown. Now we got to go into some technical shit. All right? Because the American calendar is also based off of, and I mean including the holidays and why we celebrate certain holidays and have certain major events on certain days, is because it follows ancient Babylonian calendar. All right. This here, I'm gonna just go up here. Is that America's birth? Yeah. Okay. This is America's birth chart. Now I got it a little bit all over the place, and I have the stars that it's conjunct, but I'm gonna break it down for you. All right. Try not to lose you. So, America was born July 4th, 1776. We know this. So America is what? Is a Cancer. America is a Cancer sun. Cancer is ruled by the moon. It is an Aquarius moon, okay, and is a Sagittarius rising. Now, Sagittariuses are known for their ideals, okay? So Sagittarius is your higher learning. Your colleges, your priests, your principles, the law, that travel, expansion. Sagittarius is the expansion of your mind and your principles. It is the higher laws, and it is also the Jupiterian forces expanding outwards from sea to shining sea. You see. Own that for a moment. All right. America basics: Sun in Cancer, Moon in Aquarius, rising Jupiter, rising Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter. Okay, try not to lose you here. So America's Sun is conjunct Sirius. Good job. Check. Their moon is in Aquarius. Now, Aquarius is known for being a rebel, for radical ideals, for technology. All right, so America's already set itself up to be the rebel idealist, right? Who the great humanitarian and also the great genius. It's also conjunct Bohemian star, Deneb Aldij. Good, right? So they got the sun and the moon both conjunct major Bohemian stars already off the bat. Now, this is how this all gets tied together. America's a Cancer, which means it's ruled by the moon. Its moon is in Aquarius, which is ruled by Saturn. All right? And its ascendant is in Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter. Okay? Sun equals moon. Moon equals Saturn. Rising equals Jupiter. That's the note you need to make there. Well, Jupiter is in Cancer, which means Jupiter is ruled by the moon. What else is in Cancer? Directly conjunct. Directly conjunct. That means they're right on top of each other, creating one harmonious energy, is Venus. Venus and Jupiter, the great expander, are one and the same. You can call it Venus-Jupiter. You can put a hyphen in that. Anything Jupiter touches, it makes expand. So now you've got a super Venus, okay? You've got this super Venus that rules our ascendant, and it is being represented, it is channeling its power into the sign of Cancer, which is, ruled by our moon, but it also is what our sun exalts. We are the sunlight that shines out the power of Cancer. The power of Cancer is channeled through the sun, through Venus, and through Jupiter, making it extremely expansive and powerful. Plus, Jupiter is the king of the gods. Finally, our moon is in what? That's right, it's in Aquarius. Now, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, right? But before they could see Uranus, theoretically, right, because they're finally starting to prove that they saw Uranus way before the credit was ever given. It was ruled by Saturn. It still is ruled by Saturn. Okay, Saturn rules Capricorn, Saturn rules Aquarius. Saturn rules Capricorn, Saturn rules Aquarius. It rules the old system, it rules the new system. It is the alpha and the omega, right? It's before and the after. Old system, revolution. Saturn is in Libra. Our Saturn, our sense of rules, limitations, our firm foundation, we are built on the foundation of Libra, which is what? The scales. Which is ruled by Venus. Bing! Oh, the word exalted means that a planet it's superpowered, right? It's in its best sign and it operates its best. Saturn is exalted in Libra, meaning it operates its best with no blowback, right? It's all about judgment and a fair scale. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. So Jupiter is also in its best form, conjunct the Sun, conjunct Venus, which rules Saturn, which rules the Moon, which rules everything Cancer. And what did we talk about Cancer and the Moon and Venus? Cancer rules money. Cancer rules security. America is about security, but we're also about the security of our sales. We're all about our pounds. We're all about our pounds. And that, my friends, is the American standard. And it is the American standard, it is the US dollar that has taken over the world. It doesn't matter that everybody else is on the metric system. In fact, it's actually preferable. The reason why is because the American dollar is the global standard for what the economy bases its value off of. If everybody was on the pound system, then that means that everybody's economy will be jacked into the same system that we are. We want sole proprietorship over the standard system because we're the American standard. We control pounds. Libra poundus, that is the weight of the scales. The scales ruled by Venus. We are Venus exalted. We are the light bringer, because you get the concept of Lucifer and the Prometheus that is Aquarius, and you have the great light bringer, which is the Statue of Liberty. That's a lot to go on, but that's national treasure. The national treasure is the Declaration of Independence. And yes, Walt Disney and the Disney Company was telling you that. They're letting you know that there is a map written in the Declaration of Independence, but it's not on the back. It's written in the language. The language itself is mathematically encoded. The day and date of the birth chart is planetarily and, astrologically encoded. Even our dates, okay? The dates of our holidays and our elections are also based on these principles. All right, for example, your 12th house in your astrology chart is called your hidden self. It's the land of undoing. It's the hidden area, right? It's the unseen. Well, America is a 12th house Scorpio. All right, this is important. America has a 12th house Scorpio. 12th house Scorpio is known for hidden powers. It's known for occult knowledge, right? It's the deep Kundalini that's deep down inside. It is the mystic. What's America's secret? America's secret is its mystical powers. When you have a 12th house Scorpio, you have mystical powers. Scorpio being ruled by Mars and Gemini, which is our ideas. Gemini is your words, our communications, your letters, our secret letters, our secret letters. It's part of our power system. If that's not enough, if you use what's called an equal house system, that is, all 12 of your house placements are at the same degree instead of what we have as perfect mathematical calculations. And they all match your ascendant. So America's ascendant is at 12 degrees, Sagittarius. All right, so everything else, the first house, second house, all the way down, they're all 12 degrees. You have America's 12th house at 12 degrees. All right, here's the thing. Here's the thing about it being at 12 degrees Scorpio. It is also conjunct. That is, it is combined with the Bohemian star Alphega and Alcrux. Why is this important? These are used for elections. Alphega and Alcrux are stars you specifically make spells off based on elections. What it grants you is friendship, notoriety, and ease of movement. So you would want to coronate a king, for example, on, in alignment with Alphega Alcrux, because it would give him a lot of political friends. It would give him great strength and likability. Alphega Alcrux is for political likability. It is at 12 degrees Scorpio, and if you break that date down, that's November 3rd. Election day is in direct alignment with Alphega Alcrux. And it's every 4 years. It's every 4 years because it coincides with A, the Olympics, and B, actually I should flip these around. A, the Sothic cycle, which I told you that's the star Sirius and its return every 4 years in conjunction with the flooding of the Nile, which is fertility, but it's also leap year and it's also the Olympics. So you get all of that planetary and human energy. All of that is being summoned and channeled into a president, which is why in my previous video I was talking about how they are mythologically setting up The Rock to be the Herculean hero president. The word hero comes from Haru, which is the name for Horus, Hiru, Haru, Hero, Haru, Horus. You know what else is named after Horus? Hours. Move the U. Hours. This is why anagrams are so fucking important. Sorry for the language, but literally the ability to scramble and unscramble words and understand that that actually has a meaning and it's the initial meaning. Like if I say Horus and hours, you're like, oh yeah, duh. That's secret language. That's the secret society. That's how that works. So presidents are elected to become our solar heroes. They are the great son of the great mother. They are Madron. They're Mabon Ap Madron, the great son of the great mother that comes forth every 4 years. The great mother is what? The flooding Nile of Isis. The great son comes from the mother every 4 years when she returns, which is also the mythology of Horus, or the mythology of Osiris and Horus, which creates the unit measurement for hours and days, right? Then you got Venus over there telling you what time and distance is. And then you have the hero coming back and enacting the orders of heaven to remove Set, and Set is the god of chaos. Chaos is time and event without measure. So you have the sun bringing order to the chaos. That is the Set, Osiris, Horus mystery. And this is how it is written in the stars, and this is how it is aligned in our Constitution, and this is why the greatest American treasure is the Declaration of Independence, because it's written. Selfhood becomes then a body and corporation that has then been breathed life into to be the Pinocchio of the universe by being the embodiment of the great son from the great mother, but then also the great mother herself. Where do you think I got the afro from? That was a lot to say, but y'all need to know, because that is actually how you build spells. They are mathematically written. That's why Merlin and everybody, you go into their office and they got all sorts of boards and stuff they're drawing on, and you look, what do you think those symbols in Full Metal Alchemist are? Full Metal Alchemist anime gives you the rest of the story that the American narrative doesn't. Walt Disney, God rest his soul, assuming he isn't back already, and no, I'm not putting him on a pedestal, but he did leave us some clues, right? Dude was weird. Everybody's weird, especially Disney. But he's a master mason. Noted. You can actually go onto YouTube, and I'm going to include the link. You can go onto YouTube, and he left us a video of how Venus is the basis for mathematics and the Pythagoreans. Okay? Secret handshake. Speaking of which, and this is a sneak preview, the Greeks weren't inspired by the Egyptians. They stole everything. Pythagoras wasn't even a real person. He was a school of thought called the Pythagoras school, the same way that you would have a brand name. And you know why? Because the name Pythagoras is actually Ptah and Osiris. And that is noted. That is proven. That is written. Pythagoras is Ptah, Osiris. You have to push it around. It is the light and the word of Egypt. So even all of the old Greek philosophical thoughts, the great 7 archons of Greek philosophy, they all get their structures and things from Egypt. So Thomas Paine, the great thinkers of America who studied their forefathers before them, they studied their forefathers before them, which were the Egyptians. And even further back than that, when they realized that there's something to this magic thing, right? You could say that they were men of science, right? You can talk about Newton, how America is built to be the scientific state instead of the religious one. Let me tell you something. Newton was an occultist too. He wasn't just a scientist, he was also an alchemist. So he knew about the transmutation from lead into gold, which, let me tell you, lead into gold has nothing to do with physical lead turning into physical gold. We're talking about the national treasury. You don't turn lead into gold. That is a metaphor. That is symbology. Lead is represented by the planet Mercury. Okay, just like the element Mercury, lead is represented by Mercury. Mercury rules Gemini. Gemini represents thoughts. Random thoughts, words, actions, formulas, whatever. It's scattered information. That's Mercury. It's the information pool. Well, you then spin that information into wisdom and knowledge that will eventually open you up to your third eye, the observer, where you become the creator. At some point, your thoughts will become one with the creator. This is the relationship between Gemini and Sagittarius. Okay? Why am I telling you this? Because Gemini is ruled by Mercury, which is the symbol, ancient symbol representation for lead. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, which is the ancient representation for gold. Turning lead into gold is to turn your thoughts into magic. It is to turn your words into gold. It is to turn your soul and your consciousness, which starts off as being this bifurcated, scattered being of the Gemini, the split, the dual mind, the left and right side of your brain, the two eyes, into the one eye, the third eye. And that is led into gold. And so that is why the gold that is in our national treasure, that is the American standard, is really America pushing its enlightenment by controlling the gold of the world, by controlling the currency of the world, because current is the moon and moon is the mother. And I don't care what country you're in, we all share the same moon. America jacked the moon. America jacked the moon using Venus. We own the moon. We own the moon. I repeat, we own the moon. It's why we own all the money in the world. Magically speaking, and I'm going to say this again because I want it to settle in. I want you to understand that America are moon children. We own the moon. And so whenever the moon is doing its thing, doing what the moon does, right? Look up David Icke, you want to check that out with that Moon-Saturn matrix. Who do you think it's doing it for? Who do you think it sets the narrative for? The moon is the great relicum of all of the archetypes that we as human beings write our stories based off of. I'm gonna let that set for a second. I said everybody that goes to sleep, before they go to bed, before we had all this, they gather around a campfire and they watch the moon. And that's where you get your God stories from, is the many phases of the moon. That's where you get the archetypes from, so that's where you get the greater basis of human knowledge. Thoth. Thoth is a god of the moon. He is married to Ma'at, who is also the moon. You have Osiris, who is the moon. Osiris is man, the resurrected man. It is man that is made in God's image, right? Who is a child of the moon. So when you take over the moon, you're taking over the constructs. When you take over the moon and Venus, and when I say take over, okay, I don't mean like Russia or China with rockets. I mean through your ideals and concepts and your structures. When you take over the moon and Venus, you have taken over science, you have taken over the waters, right? The concept of ebb and flow. You've taken over money. You've taken over people. You basically set yourself up to be the place that births messiahs, right? It's the Messiah factory. America is mathematically built to be a Messiah factory, and the world standard, the American standard, the great man, 5 times 10, 50, from sea to shining sea. And that's it for you. So that's America, folks. That's the American standard. That is the great occult secret of the Declaration of Independence. That is the real meaning of our dollar. That is the real meaning of our election cycle. That is the real magic and really evidence that our founding fathers, and especially Thomas Jefferson, who didn't write that thing alone, okay, were occultists. Here's what they based it off of, and they left proof. And for anybody that can read it, it's in the Declaration of Independence. So you should probably start working on your anagrams and your concepts of numerology and mythology, because once you get that down, you can read the second language and you can get all the puns that they left, because they left you tons. It is, after all, the highest form of wit. So listen, this has been Midnight Miles, bringing you a little bit of Stranger Things. Next time, what are we going to talk about next time? Hold on, let me ask Spirit. Yeah, we got a lot in there. To be honest, it wasn't supposed to go this long. That was a lot encapsulated. UFOs. Thank you. Right now, we are experiencing an increase in the UAP UFO phenomenon, but really it's just being covered. So let's talk about the UFO narrative and what we're being prepared for in 2032 and why The Rock still has my vote. It's been Midnight Miles. Live long and prosper. Until then, may the odds be ever in your favor. I'm out.